Hello everybody and welcome back to another video. Today it is Overwatch League 2020 Week 20 pick time. A lot of games this weekend. There are, I believe, 13 games this weekend. Something like that. 7 on Saturday, 6 on Sunday. So let's just jump into it and get started right away because there's a lot of ones to talk about. So here are my picks. Let's talk about it. Starting with Saturday, we have 3 matches in the Asia region. The first one is the Seoul Dynasty against the Hangzhou Charge. First match for the Charge in June. I think that this is an interesting matchup. Last time these two teams played, 3-2 win for the Seoul Dynasty in the May Melee semifinals. I like the Dynasty if they run Double Shield. Double Shield is the meta. They didn't run it a ton against New York. So who knows what they're going to do. If they run Double Shield, I like the Dynasty a lot. I don't know if they are going to run Double Shield. The Hangzhou Charge haven't played in a little bit. I think they're going to be fresh. They're going to be looking at the tape of the Dynasty. I like what the Charge are. I think that they win this one. It could be a 3-0 for the Dynasty. It could be a 3-0 for the Charge. It could be a 3-2. I really don't know what the series is going to be. It was one of those series that was in contention to be a potential big pick, but I opted not to pick this one just because it was literally a series that could go so many different ways that it didn't feel like a good big pick match. But I'm picking the Charge. I like what the Charge are. I think they've been very good so far this season. I would say right now they're the 3rd best team in Asia, but that's debatable. Some people think they're the 2nd best. I don't think that that's a bad take to have. So that's where I am on that one. My big pick for Saturday is actually the London Spitfire against the Chengdu Hunters. Now, this is a weird one because this is a pretty bottom tier match between the 2 weakest teams in Asia, but a lot of the games I think on Saturday, I think that could be close, also have the potential to just as easily be super one-sided, and I think they're more likely to be super one-sided than I do them being close. Charge Dynasty, Shock Eternal, Reign Defiant. Those are all series that I think could be close. Also could just be completely one-sided. I think it's more likely that they're one-sided. This Spitfire Hunters one I think should be pretty close. I personally like the Spitfire a little bit more. I think they've been weaker as a whole. They did not look good against Shanghai. They looked very scared when they played against Shanghai. They weren't really making moves. They were very much kind of cowarding at times, but they have some really good players. Glister is a stud. Sanguinar has been really good. I think Bernard has been very good. J-Mac has been pretty good. I think Although and Shui have looked good so far. They haven't looked incredible, but they have looked like players that have a lot of potential. So like the Spitfire team, they beat the Hunters already once this season. I think they do it again. Final match in the Asia region for Saturday is the Hangzhou Spark against the NYXL. I'm picking the NYXL. I think they're the 2nd best team in Asia right now. I think they are a very good team. The Spark, I have a lot of questions about. 1, how are they going to look with Architect in the lineup? I think that's the biggest question that there is to ask. 2, is Gushui back with this team? I haven't seen an official announcement yet. Maybe I missed it, but I personally haven't seen one, so I don't know if Gushui is back with the team or not. He had to go back to China to renew his visa, so I don't know if he's back yet. I would imagine he probably is, but who knows? Once again, too many things going on that I look at where I say question marks with this team. Even at full strength, I still think New York is the better team. I think it's much closer if the Spark are at full strength, but I am taking the Excelsior. I thought they looked very good against Seoul. Yeah, I think Seoul made a lot of mistakes and ran some bad compositions, but I still thought New York looked good where it counted. So that is, for me, what I look at as a big part of this matchup. NYXL, I think, take that one. Moving on to the North America matches for Saturday. We have the San Francisco Shock against the Paris Eternal, a matchup that I was hoping we would get in the May Melee that we unfortunately did not. But I do really, really like the Eternal team, but I think the Shock are just too good. I don't think the Eternal really have much of a chance. I think this is going to be a pretty one-sided series. Unfortunately, I think the Eternal are still very good. I think they have a really bright future for this team, but I'm just not quite sold on a number of players on this team. I need to see how this tank battle goes. For me, that is the big thing to really look at. I think the Shock DPS will have a fun time with the Eternal. That one could be pretty close. No XE still for the Eternal. Soon we'll most likely be going against Ons or Striker. I don't know if Striker's going to be playing yet. You know, he had a bit of a break, but I'd love to see Striker back in. Regardless of what happens, I think the Shock are just a better team, and I think that they will be victorious over the Eternal, and I think it might be pretty one-sided. But I also could see it going to 5 maps, and I could also see the Eternal winning. It's not impossible, but I think the Shock are just a little too good for the Eternal to really get over that hump. Next is the Atlanta Reign against the Toronto Defiant. Once again, a series that I think could be close. The Reign are slipping. The Defiant coming off a win, a pretty big win over the Vancouver Titans, a 3-0 victory. I thought the Defiant have looked better ever since Cruz came into the lineup, and now with Numlocked, I think they look better. I think the gap between these two teams is the smallest that it has been all season. Really interested to see this match. I think the Reign are still better. I think this is a Reign game that they need to win. The Reign need to win this match. They have been slipping a ton. They have been losing to some teams that they probably shouldn't be losing to. They need to get back on a winning streak. They haven't really had much of a winning streak yet this season. They've been a very, very 500 team. This is a game that they need to win if they want to really have any chance of proving themselves later in the season in the playoffs. Next is the LA Gladiators against the Houston Outlaws. LA Gladiators now with Kevster from Team Doge in their lineup. I think that really helps this Gladiators roster. I think that makes them even better than what they were. I think I was wrong about the Gladiators. They are better than what I thought they were before their match against the Atlanta Reign. Now they're even better than what they were when they beat the Atlanta Reign last week. The addition of Kevster, I think, will be huge for this team. I think Birdring and Kevster will play well together. Kevster, I know, plays a lot of hit scan, but I know he plays some flex DPS as well. The Outlaws, I still have a lot of questions about them. I think they have a lot of potential, but the problem is they don't have a main tank player who has been kind of known for the main tank role. Hydration is a DPS player for the most part, and yeah, he plays some ball and some Orisa every so often, but for the most part, the Outlaws, I think, have had that struggle there. Dante has always been very good, but I don't think it's going to be enough for the Outlaws to take the win over the Gladiators. I think the Gladiators set themselves up to be in a very good position going into the Summer Showdown. I think they have some easy matches this month, and I think that this is a good one for them to be able to get under their belt. Final match for Saturday is the Dallas Fuel against the Vancouver Titans. This is a game that the Fuel need to win. They have been slipping and slipping and slipping recently. They have a very talented DPS duo with Decay and Doha. They just recently added Paintbrush. They need to find a win if they want to stay in contention for playoffs. Yes, playoffs are likely going to be expanded. Who knows how much they're going to be expanded, but at the end of the day, I think it's very important that the Dallas Fuel get some wins under their belt if they really want any chance of competing in a playoff format at the end of the season. They have 10 games still to play, so they are not out of the picture yet. They still have enough games to really be able to kind of turn their season around, but I need to see more out of this Fuel team. And I think the Titans are an easy opponent for them. The Titans could win this one. The Titans have looked a lot better recently. I think Shockwave has been very, very good. And I think when you can pair him with Dalton and you actually get more flexibility in your DPS line than what you had with just Dalton and Suna, I think you see the Titans get a lot better. So I think the Titans will continue to improve. I don't think this is the game where the new Titans roster get their first win, but I don't think it's impossible for it to happen. Moving on to Sunday. Open up the Asia matches with the Guangzhou Charge against the Hangzhou Spark. This one could be a 5-mapper. This one could be a blowout. If Architect is looking good, if Gushui is with this team, I think the Hangzhou Spark could win this match. I think that lineup is arguably better than what the Charge have. I still don't think Neptuno is back for the Charge. I still think they're running with Chara, though I don't think Chara is a bad player by any means. I really like what the Spark have when they're at full strength. At least on paper. I want to see it in action. I still think the Charge are very good. This meta's a little weird because there's no Echo, and I thought Nero was a very good Echo. But the Spark, I think, have looked pretty good when they can run rush compositions. They've looked okay when they can run double shield. So I think this is a somewhat okay meta for the Spark. But I think it's pretty good for the Charge in some aspects, though I think the Charge were a team who actually played Echo at a very high level, because I think Nero is actually a very good Echo player. So looking at this now, I think it's going to be somewhat close, but I think the Charge do have the edge, even if the Spark are at full strength, which there's no guarantee they will be. We don't have any announcements, like I said, about like another main tank they signed. They could be running Sas and Rhea if they really need to on double shield, which could be a disaster. Who knows? I like the Spark. I don't think they win this week. I don't think this is the matchup for them to be able to take it. It's a rough week for them. It's a tough week for them to be able to kind of integrate this lineup for the first time. They're a team that I think really would like to be playing in North America right now. But as things stand, they are not. And I think it's going to be a difficult one for them, but not impossible. Moving on with the Chengdu Hunters against the Shanghai Dragons. Shanghai Dragons should win that one pretty easily. Yes, the Chengdu Hunters did beat the Shanghai Dragons once this season. It hasn't been very close ever since then. Shanghai is very, very good. They are the best team in the Overwatch League, hands down. No one is really competing with them except for maybe San Francisco. Dragons should win this one pretty easily. Hunters have some players who've had some good performances, like Mali has looked very good. Leave has had some decent performances. Jinmu, of course. But no Echo. We'll probably see a lot of Jinmu Genji. It's going to be a weird one, but I think the Dragons are just so talented and so good. And the way that they just dismantled the London Spitfire last week, I don't even think it's going to be that close. Dragons, 3-0. I don't normally predict scores, but I think it's a 3-0 for the Dragons easily. Final Asia match for Sunday is the NYXL against the London Spitfire. These two teams haven't played since week 1, day 1 of this season. So they haven't played since New York's and London's first matches. So these teams have changed since then, of course. It's a very close match when they played the first time around. But I like New York, obviously. I think New York's very good. Haxel and Nene, those two coming into this team have made them look so much better. Nene's return was huge for this team. I think London, like I said, I think they look good. I think the Glister Nene duel will be very interesting to watch, but I can't pick against New York. I think New York has looked pretty clean. I think that there were a lot of things that happened this past week for them where Seoul kind of threw a bit, but overall, I think that the really, really, really notable thing is that this team just looks better, and I think they look a lot better because I think they have more. They have a more vocal leader in Haxel, and then they have consistent hit scan play again with Nene coming back. London, not a bad team, but I don't think they find the win against New York. I think their best chance to beat New York was back in week 1, believe it or not. Even though I think London's gotten better since then, I think New York has gotten way better since then. And I think New York takes this one. Next is the Boston Uprising. It's the Philadelphia Fusion, the first match of North America for Sunday. This is an interesting one. The Uprising have been on the rise. The Fusion have been, a little bit criticized recently. They had that loss to Florida in the May Melee. They had a very, very good win last week, but it was against a Houston Outlaws team who actually looked decent at times, but the Fusion able to beat them pretty convincingly. I think the Uprising right now look a little bit better than the Outlaws. Maybe the Uprising just match up well against the Gladiators and the Eternal, and it's, maybe they still look really bad against other teams. But I thought the Uprising have looked cleaner and better recently. I think the Fusion are not going to struggle against them. I think the Fusion are too good for the Uprising to really find a lot of success against them. I mean, this is the team at the very top of the standings versus the team at the very bottom of the standings. Fusion take that one, I think, pretty easily. My big pick for Sunday is the game that I think is going to be the best game of the weekend. This game is going to be so good. LA Valiant, Florida Mayhem, two teams that play somewhat similar styles. They love their Tracer. The Valiant love Shax. The Mayhem love Yaki. Got two great Ashe players. With the Valiant, you got KSP. With the Mayhem, you got BQB. I think this is going to be a really great matchup. Two teams who have had excellent DPS duos so far this season. I think the Mayhem are slightly better. I think they take the edge. I think they have more consistent performances out of their tank and DPS lines than what I think the Valiant do. But I think this one should be pretty good. I like this matchup a lot. If you can only watch one match this weekend, this is the one to tune in for. This is the one. It's supposed to start, I guess, at 5 p.m. on Sunday. So if you can find the time to watch it, this is the one that I think you will want to watch. Obviously, like I said, picked Florida. That is mainly due to the fact that I think Yaki has been so good this season. Shax and KSP have also been lights out this season. But I think that Florida has been more consistent. Obviously, these teams played San Francisco in the main melee. Mayhem had the better result. I think the Mayhem are just cleaner, more well-rounded. I think the Valiant have good ups, have somewhat rough lows, and some inconsistencies that the Mayhem don't really have in some of the spots, such as main tank, off tank, where the Valiant, I think, struggle the most. I think the Mayhem have had some very solid performances. The Mayhem's biggest struggle is definitely main tank, and even then, I don't think Chris has been a liability for this team. I think he isn't the best main tank, but I think he has been good enough for this team. They can win a championship with Chris as their main support. I do believe that to be the case. I think it'll be a close one, probably 3-2, maybe a 3-1 in favor of the Mayhem, but I think this one will be pretty good. Final match for the week is the Washington Justice against the San Francisco Shock. I like the Shock. The Justice are arguably the worst team in the league right now. They might not be, but they also might be. It's very, very possible. Whereas the Shock are one of the best teams in the league right now. So I think it's going to be a pretty one-sided series. I think the Shock are going to roll over this Justice team. It's not even going to be close. Most likely a 3-0. It'll be an interesting thing to see the Justice go up against a team that's very good again. But I think the Shock will have a very, very, very good weekend and a relatively easy weekend, though the Eternal are a bit of a challenge for them. Justice should be no problem at all. Those are my picks. That is everything that I have for you today. Let me know your thoughts down below, your picks if you want, whatever. Leave that in the comments down below. And if you enjoyed this video, consider liking and subscribing for more content like this in the future. I am going to get out of here. Thank you once again. Hope you're all staying safe and healthy, and I will see you all next time. Bye-bye.